Hey, welcome. So today we're going to look at a pretty fascinating idea, thinking about prayer as, well, architecture. Not just something you do, not just a list of things you want, but a structure that's been carefully designed with a very specific blueprint. We're going to explore how the Bible actually lays this blueprint out for us, showing a design that's not just about talking to God, but about being transformed by Him.
But before we dive in, let me just ask you a quick question. When you sit down to pray, or you're just talking to God on the fly, where do you start? Like, what's the very first thought that comes to mind? Just think about that for a second. What's your typical starting point?
You know, if we're being really honest with ourselves, a lot of us probably start on the left side of the screen. We jump right in with our urgent needs, our laundry list of requests, the problems staring us right in the face. But what the source material points out, drawing straight from the Bible, is a completely different starting point. It begins with God's glory, His holiness, His authority. This shift right here is the absolute core of what we're unpacking today.
So let's really dig into this idea of a different kind of prayer by uncovering what's called the divine blueprint. The argument here is that the Lord's Prayer isn't just a nice little script we're supposed to memorize and repeat. No, it's actually an architectural model for how we should approach God every single time.
And here it is. This is the cornerstone of the whole thing. In Matthew chapter 6, verse 9, Jesus lays the foundation for the entire structure. He says, "Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name." Just notice where he starts. It's not with our needs, not with our wants, but with a powerful declaration about who God is.
So that leads us right to the foundation of this entire prayer structure, God's name. This first part of the blueprint, Lesson 1, is all about making a fundamental shift in our focus, moving the spotlight off of ourselves and our problems and putting it squarely onto God and His greatness. Okay, so what in the world does it actually mean to hallow God's name? I mean, that's not a word we throw around every day, right? Well, according to the source, it means to set God apart, to treat Him as holy, as totally unique, to put His glory and His character above literally everything else in our lives. It's an act of worship that happens before we even think about asking for anything.
And why is this such a big deal? Because starting here changes everything. It immediately shifts our perspective from being crushed by our problems to recognizing His authority over them. It reminds us that real prayer starts with worship, not with a wish list. And here's the crucial part. It builds our relationship with God on a rock-solid foundation of reverence and trust. Suddenly, prayer becomes relational, not just transactional.
So, how do we actually put this into practice? The source gives us 3 really practical steps. First, praise first. Just start your prayers by acknowledging who God is and how great He is. Second, check your motives. Ask yourself, am I praying out of real trust or am I just trying to get my way? And third, prioritize glory. Actively remember that glorifying God in your prayer is just as important as getting an answer.
Okay, so once that foundation of praise is laid, what do we build on top of it? Well, the structure that rises from that foundation is a transformed life. You see, this God-centered way of praying doesn't just change how we talk to God, it actually starts to reshape our hearts. This is what the source calls transformative prayer. The goal here isn't just to get answers or to get things from God. The real goal is to start aligning our own desires with His will. It's a process where prayer becomes the tool that God uses to shape our character, our reactions, and our whole outlook to be more like His. And this is where you see the long-term payoff. This kind of prayer teaches us humility and a deep reliance on God, not on ourselves. As we focus more on His character, we can't help but develop more compassion for other people. Forgiveness, which is a huge part of the Lord's Prayer, stops feeling like a chore and starts becoming a natural response. It's this powerful reminder that prayer is about who we are becoming. So how do we live this out? How do we build this structure? Again, 3 key actions. 1. Always pray with God's glory in mind. Keep His greatness as your primary focus. 2. Be bold and ask for change. Literally, ask God to shape your character and give you His perspective on things. And 3. Practice forgiveness. Let your time in prayer actually lead you to show mercy to others.
All right, so we've looked at the foundation of praise and the structure of a transformed heart. Now let's just put it all together and see what this blueprint for prayer actually looks like when we try to live it out day to day.
And here it is, your daily blueprint, all in one spot. Start with praise, check your motives, ask for transformation, and practice mercy. Look, this isn't some rigid, legalistic formula. Think of it more like a structural guide to make sure our prayers are built on the right foundation and for the right purpose, which is a deeper relationship with God that changes us from the inside out.
And that really brings us to the ultimate takeaway from this whole thing. It all boils down to this one single, powerful idea. Prayer begins with honoring God and shapes the heart to reflect Him. It's a complete re-architecture of prayer, moving it from a list of needs to a life of transformation. It's definitely something to think about the next time you pray. Thanks so much for tuning in.